Hello 1911 owners, Mark Allen here for BHSpringSolutions, and here today to talk to you about a way that we've developed to calibrate recoil, your slide velocity in terms of your recoil on your 1911. Now here's the reason why we did this, and I do want to admit a couple of things to you. I'm carrying my 1911 a lot more these days, and for you who have known about BHSpringSolutions, we started as a company that optimizes the high power design, particularly the FN Browning high power and all the clones. And we wanted to take this same product and provide some solutions to 1911 owners. And I want to tell on myself here for a minute, but one of the reasons I did not carry my 1911 for the first several years that I owned it was because I did not shoot it as well and as effectively in defensive drills as I did my high power. And I always had this idea I'd like to carry my 1911 more, especially in the winter time when I may encounter a need for a defensive firearm, and that target may have multiple layers of clothing, thick winter coats, things like this. I accept that the .45 caliber round is more effective in that scenario, but I was not as effective with a larger caliber, a .45, as compared to a 9mm. And I've brought my effectiveness a lot closer to what I am with the 9mm high power. With my 1911, I'm going to share with you how I did it step by step, and also show you the BHSpringSolutions kit product that you can get at BHSpringSolutions.com for about $15, including shipping. I'm going to show that to you now. We have two versions for you guys with the Series 70 1911. We've got a complete spring kit that's for the Series 70. For the Series 80, you guys that have the newer technology firing pin block safety feature on your Series 80, we have a complete spring kit for your Series 80 as well. I want to share with you a couple of things that this is going to do for you. Number one, the mag latch. That's what keeps your magazine in your firearm. Replacing that spring, that's a good thing, keeping that spring healthy. Also a decisive safety lever. Click when you hear that. That's a dual dog leg spring that has two jobs, and that's in your kit as well. But the main thing we want to talk about today is this subject of slide velocity and how that affects you with your 1911. First of all, I want to liken this to another 1911, Browning's 1911-22. Now this is a 22 caliber, 85% the size of a full-size .45 1911. Slide velocity on this 22 caliber pistol is not that important. In other words, if you're ejecting empty shell casings with this little 22 4 feet away from your firearm or 14 feet away from your firearm, you're not likely to notice an awful lot of difference in recoil. It's a 22 long rifle cartridge. With a .45, if you have got 10% too much slide velocity or 20% too much slide velocity, that's 20% more slide velocity than you need to be having on a .45 caliber recoil. That is significant. In other words, it increases your felt recoil, number one. Number two, slide velocity that is happening too soon and too fast is going to have a tendency to unlock your slide. And you notice on your 1911, when you unlock that slide, that barrel tilts down. When the barrel tilts down in the back, it moves in the front. And if this happens, just this little bit of movement of the slide, if this happens before your bullet has left the end of your barrel, then the bullet is leaving the end of a barrel that is moving. Did you catch that? It is going to be near impossible for you to maximize accuracy in your 1911 if the bullet is leaving a moving barrel. Okay? So if you're still with me here, I want to explain with you what I was facing. This is a Remington R1. It is a very, very near copy of the original 1911 that the Series 70. It's a Series 80, but in most respects, it's your original 1911. This is a 5-year-old firearm. I've shot less than 1,000 rounds through it, and this is the original recoil spring that came out of this pistol at 5 years. This is the same spring, brand new, and you're going to notice you can even see the difference. We made a chart. The difference in the relaxed length of these two springs is 140 millimeters for the 5-year-old spring and 159 millimeters for the new spring. That's a loss of about 3/4 of an inch off of a 6 3/8 inch spring when it's new. So here's what I was getting. I was getting ejection of empty shell casings in the 10 to 12 feet range from my 1911. I was not happy with my accuracy. I was not happy with the performance, my performance with the firearm in rapid firing drills, and that was one of the things that was keeping me from carrying my 1911 more often, is I just did not have the confidence that I needed with it. But the theory was that this ejection of empty shell casings, 10 and 12 and maybe even more feet from the firearm, that was indicating to me that maybe the slide velocity was getting too fast, too soon, and unlocking the barrel. So BHSpringSolutions created a 1911 spring product that has helped me. It will help you to calibrate your slide velocity, and here's how here's one way that you can do that. Now, when I'm talking about slide velocity, I'm talking about in a 1911 that is in good repair, that has an ejector that's in good shape, that's got an extractor that's in good shape and is clean, and the firearm has been serviced, or the firearm is possibly newer, and everything is structurally sound inside the firearm mechanically. So the first thing that I did is, you're going to notice in your BHSpringSolutions spring kit, you're going to notice that there are 2 mainsprings and there are 3 recoil springs included in your kit. And here's the reason. There's a light mainspring and a heavy mainspring. Now, to let you know what that mainspring does, it's installed here in the back strap of the 1911. It is that resistance that you feel when you cock the hammer. You're cocking against the resistance of the mainspring. Also, when your slide comes rearward, it is also recoiling against the resistance of that mainspring. So this mainspring has a lot to do with your rearward slide velocity. Again, how soon and how fast that slide unlocks from this position after the hammer has dropped, after you've fired the weapon. So I was getting 10 to 12 feet of ejection distance. Here's what I did, was I took our light, the BHSpringSolutions light mainspring, I installed it in my 1911. The standard recoil spring is a 16-pound spring. I put the BHSpringSolutions 16-pound spring into my 1911. In other words, I just put the new versions of the original springs, basically, that came in the gun. And my ejection distance immediately went down, depending on the ammunition. And again, this is 230 grain, standard pressure, 45 caliber ammunition. The ejection distance of empty shell casings, standard pressure ammunition, went to between 7.5 and 8.5 feet with 3 different types of ammunition tested. Accuracy got some better. Then tried our heavy mainspring with, again, that 16-pound spring. That brought the ejection distance down to around, depending on the ammunition, 5 feet, 6 feet, and 6.5 feet. So more into about that 6-foot range, and accuracy improved again. And for me, and for my 1911, I found that about 6 feet of ejection distance from where I'm shooting to be a sweet spot for me and for my 1911. Everything good started happening for me when I started observing that ejection distance around 6 feet. Okay, I carry a 230 grain jacketed hollow point plus P pressure ammunition for carry. Now, one of the challenges we all have when we are shooting your target load ammunition or your standard pressure full metal jacket ammunition, and then you go and you carry a much hotter, maybe a heavier bullet weight, depending on the caliber, ammunition. Now you have something that is performing different in your handgun compared to what you practice with. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to find that combination with my 1911 that would give me about the same slide velocity with my plus P carry ammunition as my typical practice ammunition. So I tested the light mainspring with our heavier recoil spring. I tested our heavy recoil mainspring with our 18-pound recoil spring. And I found that that heavy mainspring and our 18-pound recoil spring, I had ejection distances at 6 feet, 7 feet, and 6 feet. Virtually identical to the ejection distance that I was getting from your typical target ammunition. So what that tells me is that I can get about the same slide velocity with my carry ammunition with the 18-pound recoil spring and the heavy mainspring, and as I can with my target ammunition with the 16-pound and the heavy mainspring. That is a different setup than this pistol came with originally. It comes with a light mainspring. I'm assuming that's for easier racking of the slide. Also, it does eject the shells a little bit farther, but you're right at that point where your slide velocity is happening too fast, too quick, unlocking before the bullet leaves the end of the barrel. So that's what I found. So now, today, when I'm practicing with my ball ammunition, standard pressure ammunition, I know my setup to have my ejection, my firearm performing, ejecting about 6 feet away. And when I clean my firearm and get it ready for carry, I put the 18-pound spring in and I load my jacketed hollow point plus P ammunition, and I know it's going to perform and feel, if I need it, about the same way that my practice ammunition does. So there's just a quick example of what we call calibrating that slide recoil velocity on your 1911. Hey, thanks for listening. Mark Allen here for BHSpringSolutions.